Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. The wonderful actors, poets, singers, residents who will read their favorite poems are, in order of their appearance, Corinne Conley, Kay Weissman, Diane Schuur, James Cushing, Beth Ruscio, Joan Walkovitz. Here's Corinne Conley.
Thank you, Harry. I'm going to read 3 of my favorite Julia Alvarez poems, starting with My Kind of Woman. First off, we can start with Eve, who misbehaved, taking a bite of the forbidden fruit. A woman not afraid to risk God's ire, or Adam's blame to know good from evil, or Lot's wife. Does she even have a name? Who suffered death because she chose to turn. Oh, so to love the sight of what she loves, the red roof on her house, her line of wash, that she gave up salvation for a glimpse. My kind of woman, bold and curious. Oh, I like the quiet, pensive ones as well. Mary, so often praised for the wrong things, her humbleness, her sweet docility, her loving parenting of Jesus Christ. Instead of her most worthy quality, her Buddhist calm in the face of shocking news that she was pregnant with the Son of God. She didn't balk or ask to be excused or worry about what her parents were going to think. My kind of virgin, guilt and fancy free. Oh, and speaking of virgins, I'll end with Joan of Arc. Now, how many young women wouldn't want to cut their hair and bind their breasts and roam far from their fathers' houses on their own, making the world safer for womankind? I see a theme. Smart ladies with big mouths, on whom nothing is lost. Big-hearted gals. Husbands, priests, daddies, bosses, sultans, dons. Choose for your chattel the pliant, docile ones. My kind of women aren't the ones you want. Vain doubts. Years ago now, a breezy bygone day, walking a city street, my hair tossing, feeling the beauty of my young body, that animal friskiness triggered by spring. I glanced admiringly at my reflection in a storefront window, tossing my head to watch that mirrored waving of a mane, I thought my best feature, when a young man coming my direction barred my way. Glaring at me, he uttered, "Vanity!" And I was stopped in my mindless moment of physical joy, shamed to associate that deadly sin with the upsurge of life and self-love I'd been feeling, never doubting my urban prophet had been right. Vanity. So this was what that ugly sin felt like. In his disgust, I heard the click of keys in convents, harems, attics, marriages down the generations, doors closing on bodies that could give both pleasure and life. And now that the years have granted me release from such vain doubts, I'd like to post myself at slumber parties, bathrooms, dressing rooms, wherever young girls gather, frowning at their wrong-size figures, blah hair, blemished skin, already taught to find fault or disguise joy in their bodies. I'd like to be the voice that drowns out their self-doubt, singing in praise of what I couldn't see when I was young. We're simply beautiful, just as we are. Aficionados. I have a friend who tangos and attends meetings in Helsinki. Amazingly, the largest convention of tango lovers in the world. Day after chilly day, the couples 1, 2 swoon, 1, 2 and turn across the mirrored ballroom as snows fall beyond the steamed-up windows. Just last year, he met a dental hygienist from Maine and fell madly in love. I see him dancing in shiny black shoes and red cummerbund, she in a long, I think required skirt, a slit revealing vistas never seen in Maine. Vistas she surely never sees, peering down throats, her hand on countless cheeks. Another man I know adores Star Trek and meets with other Trekkies once a year. Get him started and the dinner party is ruined. Except for the amusement of seeing him so worked up. Every month, I send a dying stamp-collecting friend stamps saved from letters sent by island aunts. Gaudy virgins, miniature dictators, flowers so otherworldly, my friend says he'll soon be seeing native specimens. The man who cuts my hair spends his spare time making doll furniture. Each time I hear of some new passion, I feel gratitude at one more instance of the many ways we learn through what we love to love the world, which might be all that we're here to do. Now I'll close my reading with a little wisdom from Mary Oliver. Don't hesitate. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give in to it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed, or about to be. We are not wise, and not very often kind, and much can never be redeemed. Still, life has some possibility left. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back, that sometimes something happens better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in the instance when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb. Now, let me introduce you to my joyous colleague, Kay Weissman.
Thank you so much, Corinne. Well, I'm going to begin with a poem by Mary Oliver. I worried. I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I ever be able to sing? Even the sparrows can do it, and I am, well, hopeless. Is my eyesight fading, or am I just imagining it? Am I going to get rheumatism, lockjaw, dementia? Finally, I saw that worrying had come to nothing, and I gave it up. And I took my old body and went out into the morning and sang. This is a poem that I love so much, and I always love reading it. Daffodils by William Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. They stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. The Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the maxim foe he sought, and so rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock, with eyes aflame, came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumping back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. Oh, frabjous Callooh, Calais, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrabe. Human Family by Maya Angelou. I note the obvious differences in the human family. Some of us are serious, some thrive on comedy. Some declare their lives are lived in true profundity, and others claim they really live the real reality. The variety of our skin tones can confuse, bemuse, delight. Brown and pink and beige and purple, tan and blue and white. I've sailed upon the 7 seas and stopped in every land. I've seen the wonders of the world, not yet one common man. I know 10,000 women called Jane and Mary Jane, but I've not seen any two who really were the same. Mirror twins are different, although their features jibe, and lovers think quite different thoughts while lying side by side. We love and lose in China. We weep on England's moors and laugh and moan in Guinea and thrive on Spanish shores. We seek success in Finland. are born and die in Maine. In minor ways, we different. In major, we're the same. I note the obvious differences between each sort and type, but we are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. And this is my last poem called Remember by Christina Rossetti. Remember me when I am gone away, gone far away into the silent land, when you can no more hold me by the hand, nor I half turn to go, yet turning stay. Remember me when no more day by day you tell me of our future that you planned. Only remember me. You understand it will be late to counsel then or pray. Yet if you should forget me for a while, and afterwards remember, do not grieve. For if the darkness and corruption leave a vestige of the thoughts that once I had, better by far you should forget and smile than that you should remember and be sad. And now I have the great pleasure of introducing and welcoming Miss Deeds Schuur. Welcome, Deeds.
Thank you, Kay. That was absolutely gorgeous. I'm a little nervous. I've never done this before. Been singing for the past 60 years, but this is kind of different. But this is dedicated to the memory of my dear friend Overton, who introduced me to this wonderful book, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, in 1976. He's deceased now. So with that, I'll say, I love you, Bear, and thank you. Then said Almitra, speak to us of love. And he raised his head and looked upon the people, and there fell a stillness upon them. And with a great voice he said, when love beckons to you, follow him. Though his ways are hard and steep, and when his wings enfold you, yield to him. Though the sword hidden among his pinions may wound you. And when he speaks to you, believe in him, though his voice may shatter your dreams as the north wind lays waste the garden. For even as love crowns you, so shall he crucify you. Even as he is for your growth, so is he for your pruning. Even as he ascends to your height and caresses your tenderest branches that quiver in the sun, so shall he descend to your roots and shake them in their clinging to the earth. Like sheaves of corn, he gathers you unto himself. He threshes you to make you naked. He sifts you to free you from your husks. He grinds you to whiteness. He kneads you until you are pliant. And then he assigns you to his sacred fire that you may become sacred bread for God's sacred feast. All these things shall love do unto you, that you may know the secrets of your heart, and in that knowledge become a fragment of life's heart. But if in your fear you would seek only love's peace and love's pleasure, then it is better for you that you cover your nakedness and pass out of love's threshing floor into the seasonless world where you shall laugh, but not all of your laughter, and weep, but not all of your tears. Love gives not but itself, and takes not but from itself. Love possesses not, nor would it be possessed. For love is sufficient unto love. When you love, you should not say, God is in my heart, but rather, I am in the heart of God. And think not you can direct the course of love, for love, if it finds you worthy, directs your course. Love has no other desire but to fulfill itself. But if you love and must needs have desires, let these be your desires, to melt and be like a running brook that sings its melody to the night, to know the pain of too much tenderness, to be wounded by your own understanding of love, and to bleed willingly and joyfully, to wake at dawn with a winged heart and give thanks for another day of loving, to rest at the noon hour and meditate love's ecstasy, to return home at eventide with gratitude, and then to sleep with a prayer for the beloved in your heart and a song of praise upon your lips. And now the next one is called Joy and Sorrow, on Joy and Sorrow. Then a woman said, speak to us of joy and sorrow. And he answered, your joy is your sorrow unmasked, and the self-same well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Is not the cup that holds your wine the very cup that was burned in the potter's oven? And is not the lute that soothes your spirit the very wood that was hollowed with knives? When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that is giving you joy. When you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. Some of you say, joy is greater than sorrow, and others say, nay, sorrow is the greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Together they come. And when one sits alone with you at your board, remember that the other is asleep upon your bed. Verily, you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy. Only when you are empty are you at standstill and balanced. When the treasure keeper lifts you to weigh his gold and his silver, needs must your joy or your sorrow rise or fall. And the last reading that I would like to do, it's called On Pain. Just let me find it here. On pain. And a woman spoke, saying, tell us of pain. And he said, your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding, even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know pain. And could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. And you would accept the seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the seasons that pass over your fields. And you would watch with serenity through the winters of your grief. Much of your pain is self-chosen. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility. For his hand, though heavy and hard, is guided by the tender hand of the unseen. And the cup he brings, though it burns your lips, has been fashioned of the clay which the potter has moistened with his own sacred tears. Thank you so much for letting me read, and now I pass it on to James Cushing. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you very much, Diane. Thank you, Harry and the MPTF, for putting on this magnificent performance. I'm going to begin with a poem by William Blake. This is a section from a much longer poem called The Four Zoas, Night the Second, and this is a self-contained piece called Ennian's Lament. I am made to sow the thistle for wheat, the nettle for a nourishing dainty. I have planted a false oath in the earth. It has brought forth a poison tree. I have chosen the serpent for a counselor and the dog for a schoolmaster to my children. I have blotted out from light and living the dove and nightingale, and I have caused the earthworm to beg from door to door. I have taught the thief a secret path into the house of the just. I have taught pale artifice to spread his nets upon the morning. My heavens are brass, my earth is iron, my moon a clod of clay, my sun a pestilence burning at noon and a vapor of death and night. What is the price of experience? Do men buy it for a song or wisdom for a dance in the street? No, it is bought with the price of all that a man hath, his house, his wife, his children. Wisdom is sold in the desolate market where none come to buy, and in the withered field where the farmer plows for bread in vain. It is an easy thing to triumph in the summer's sun and in the vintage, and to sing on the wagon loaded with corn. It is an easy thing to talk of patience to the afflicted, to speak the laws of prudence to the houseless wanderer, to listen to the hungry raven's cry in wintry season when the red blood is filled with wine and with the marrow of lambs. It is an easy thing to laugh at wrathful elements, to hear the dog howl at the wintry door, the ox in the slaughterhouse moan, to see a God on every wind and a blessing on every blast, to hear sounds of love in the thunderstorm that destroys our enemy's house, to rejoice in the blight that covers his field and the sickness that cuts off his children, while our olive and vines sing and laugh round our door, and our children bring fruits and flowers. Then the groan and the dolor are quite forgotten, and the slave grinding at the mill, and the captive in chains, and the poor in the prison, and the soldier in the field, when the shattered bone hath laid him groaning among the happier dead. It is an easy thing to rejoice in the tents of prosperity. Thus could I sing and thus rejoice, but it is not so with me. William Blake. I'm going to continue with another poem taken from a longer piece. This is by the great American poet Hart Crane from his poem, The Bridge. This is called The Harbor Dawn. Insistently through sleep, a tide of voices. They meet you listening midway in your dream. The long, tired sounds, fog-insulated noises, gongs in white surplices, beshrouded wails, far strum of foghorns, signals dispersed in veils. And then a truck will lumber past the wharves as winch engines begin throbbing on some deck. or a drunken stevedore's howl and thud below comes echoing alley upward through dim snow. And if they take your sleep away sometimes, they give it back again. Soft sleeves of sound attend the darkling harbor, the pillowed bay. Somewhere out there in blankness, steam spills into steam and wanders, washed away, flurried by keen fifings, eddied among distant chiming buoys, adrift. The sky, cool feathery fold, suspends, distills this wavering slumber. Slowly, immemorially, the window, the half-covered chair, ask nothing but this sheath of pallid air. And you, beside me, blessed now, while sirens sing to us, stealthily weave us into day. Serenely now, before day claims our eyes, your cool arms murmuriously about me lay, while myriad snowy hands are clustering at the panes. Your hands within my hands are deeds, my tongue upon your throat, singing, arms close, eyes wide, undoubtful dark. Drink the dawn. A forest shudders in your hair. The window goes blonde slowly, frostily clears. From cyclopean towers across Manhattan waters, 2, 3 bright window eyes aglitter, disk the sun, released, aloft with cold gulls hither. The fog leans one last moment on the sill. Under the mistletoe of dreams, a star, as though to join us at some distant hill, turns in the waking west and goes to sleep. Hart Crane. I'm going to conclude my portion of the afternoon's program with a poem by a modern or perhaps postmodern master, John Ashbery, from his book Self-Portrait in the Convex Mirror. This is a poem called 40s Flick. The shadow of the Venetian blind on the painted wall, shadows of the snake plant and cacti, the plaster animals, focus the tragic melancholy of the bright stare into nowhere, a hole like the black holes in space. In bra and panties, she sidles to the window, zip up with the blind. A fragile street scene offers itself, with wafer-thin pedestrians who know where they are going. The blind comes down slowly. The slats are slowly tilted up. Why must it always end this way? A dais with woman reading, with the ruckus of her hair and all that is unsaid about her, pulling us back to her, with her into the silence that night alone can't explain. Silence of the library, of the telephone with its pad. But we didn't have to reinvent these either. They had gone away into the plot of a story, the art part, knowing what important details to leave out and the way characters develop. Things too real to be of much concern, hence artificial. Yet now, all over the page, the indoors with the outside becoming part of you, as you find you had never left off laughing at death. The background, dark vine at the edge of the porch. 40s Flick by John Ashbery. Thank you. And next, I'd like to introduce Beth Ruscio.
That was lovely, James. You said the silence of the library, so now I'm going to give you a little leitmotif. The house was quiet and the world was calm.
Nice.
By Wallace Stevens.
Yes.
The house was quiet and the world was calm. The reader became the book, and summer night was like the conscious being of the book. The house was quiet and the world was calm. The words were spoken as if there was no book, except that the reader leaned above the page, wanted to lean, wanted much most to be the scholar to whom his book is true, to whom the summer night is like a perfection of thought. The house was quiet because it had to be. The quiet was part of the meaning, part of the mind, the access of perfection to the page. And the world was calm. The truth in a calm world in which there is no other meaning, itself is calm, itself is summer and night, itself is the reader leaning late and reading there. The Woman at the Washington Zoo by Randall Jarrell. The saris go by me from the embassies, cloth from the moon, cloth from another planet. They look back at the leopard like the leopard, and this print of mine that has kept its color alive through so many cleanings, this dull, null navy I wear to work and wear from work, and so to my bed, so to my grave, with no complaints, no comment, neither from my chief, the deputy chief assistant, nor his chief. Only I complain. This serviceable body that no sunlight dyes, no hand suffuses, but dome-shadowed, withering among columns, wavy beneath fountains, small, far off, shining. In the eyes of animals, these beings trapped, as I am trapped, but not themselves the trap, aging, but without knowledge of their age, kept safe here, knowing not of death, for death. Oh, bars of my own body, open, open. The world goes by my cage and never sees me. And there come not to me as come to these, the wild beasts, sparrows pecking the llama's grain, pigeons settling on the bear's bread, buzzards tearing the meat the flies have clouded. Vulture, when you come for the white rat that the foxes left, take off the red helmet of your head, the black wings that have shadowed me, and step to me as man, the wild brother at whose feet the white wolves fawn, to whose hand of power the great lioness stalks, purring. You know what I was. You see what I am. Change me. Change me. Unwanting to tell you about a girl eating fish eyes by Mary Shibist. Unwanting to tell you about a girl eating fish eyes, how her loose curls float above each silver fish as she leans in to pluck its eyes. You died just hours ago. Not suddenly, no, you'd been dying so long, nothing looked like itself. From your window, fishermen swirled sequins, fishnets entangled the moon. Now the dark rain looks like dark rain. Only the wine shimmers with candlelight. I refill the glasses and we raise a toast to you as so-and-so's daughter, elfin, jittery as a sparrow, slides into another lap to eat another pair of slippery eyes with her soft fingers, fingers rosier each time for being chewed a little. If only I could go to you, revive you. You must be a little alive still. I'd like to put this girl in your lap. She's almost feverishly warm and she weighs hardly anything. I want to show you how she relishes each eye, to show you her greed for them. She is placing one on her tongue, bright as a polished coin. What do they taste like? I ask. Twisting in my lap, she leans back sleepily. They taste like eyes, she says. Everyone was in love. Galway Canal. One day, when they were little, Maud and Fergus appeared in the doorway, naked and mirthful, with a dozen long garter snakes draped over each of them like brand new clothes. Snake tails dangled down their backs, and snake foreparts in various lengths fell over their fronts. With heads raised and swaying, alert as cobras, the snakes writhed their dry skins upon each other, as snakes like doing in lovemaking, with the added novelty this time of caressing soft, smooth, moist human skin. Maud and Fergus were deliciously pleased with themselves. The snakes seemed to be tickled too. We were enchanted. Everyone was in love. Then Maud drew down off Fergus's shoulder as off a tie rack, a peculiarly lumpy snake, and told me to look inside. Inside the double-hinged jaw, a frog's green webbed hind feet were being drawn like a diver's, very slowly as if into deepest waters. Perhaps thinking I might be considering rescue, Maud said, "Don't. Frog is already elsewhere." And I want to close with this Ruth Stone poem, Train Ride. All things come to an end. Small calves in Arkansas, the bend of the muddy river. Do all things come to an end? No, they go on forever. They go on forever. The swamp, the vine-choked cypress, the oaks rattling last year's leaves, the thump of the rails, the kite, the still white stilted heron, all things come to an end. The red clay bank, the spread hawk, the bodies riding this train, the stalled truck, pale sunlight, the talk goes on forever. The wide, dry field of geese, a man stopped near his porch to watch. Release, release. Between cold death and a fever, send what you will. I will listen. All things come to an end. Now they go on forever. And now I want to welcome to our poetry coven, Joan Walkovitz.
Phenomenal Woman by Maya Angelou. Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model's size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally phenomenal woman. That's me. I walk into a room just as cool as you please. and to a man the fellows stand or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes and the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman. Phenomenal woman. That's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say, it's in the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the right of my breast, the grace of my style. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me.
I want to thank all of you for just such a glorious, joyful, majestic, sacred reading. It was, truly majestic, and the choices you all made were just fabulous. Some of the lines that I loved in the beginning poems, the one by Corinne that she read, a poem by Julia Alvarez, beautiful just as you are. I love that line. Another one in a poem that Kay Weissman read, we are more alike, my friend, than we are unalike. And then the poem that Diane Schuur read from the prophet, speak to us with love. And you all spoke to us from your heart and your mind. It was just really a fabulous reading. I love the reading. We have about, we have some time left, 10, 11 minutes. So why don't we just start at the beginning of the readers and just talk about the choices you made or the poems you heard or the reading. Our first one is Corinne Conley, and then Kay, Diane Schuur, Jim Cushing, Beth Ruscio, and Joan Walkovitz. Here's Corinne.
Well, I always love to hear everybody's favorites. I like to see what they choose, especially our real poets, James and Beth, because they have so much to choose from. So when they make a choice, it must be really special. Of course, wasn't it great to see my colleague here, Diane Schuur, our famous jazz singer, reading so beautifully from the prophet, and to watch her running her hands so delicately over the braille. So beautiful, because I felt as though you'd done it many times, Diane, that it meant a lot to you, and it went right from your hands into your soul, and then you transferred it out to us. Very beautiful.
Thank you, Corinne. Thank you.
Kay?
Yes. Well, I was also taken by everybody, as usual, and loved the choices, and now we'll re-listen to them again, and so I won't be nervous about myself. Now I could really watch you. And I love to know the choices, that the things that make our hearts sing, and that touches us. And this was a beautiful, I love these when we get to do our favorites.
Diane Schuur.
Yes, Harry, it's deeds. Well,
Dean, what would you like to say about your reading? It was just marvelous. And you, as Corinne said, I second the emotion. You just got it right. You're right from your heart. And that was a real sacred book, from the prophet that you read. So what would you like to say, Deedles?
Oh, I'm tired. Well, I'm rigorously honest, but I feel really good, and it's something that I've been working up to. I had a bit of insomnia last night because I just wanted to do the best that I could, and I'm grateful, and I know that Overton Berry, a brilliant pianist who was one of my dearest friends in life, I know he heard me. And today, of all of the days that I've been here since April 9th, I need to tell you, I really do feel that I'm home now.
It's so cool.
Oh,
That's nice.
Jim?
First of all, I wanted to just remind us all that yesterday was the birthday of B.B. King, and that you made one of my favorite of all of your albums in duets with B.B. King, and I thought of that all day yesterday. Cool. So thank you so much for doing that album. It holds up very, very well. Secondly, when Harry invited me to choose from my favorite poems, I immediately had the thought of several hundred immediately came to mind, and since I felt that the point of this meeting was to express as much joy and energy from poetic language as possible, I thought that I should apply the rule of "Thou shalt not agonize" as my first rubric. So I thought, okay, let me just grab the first, the first three books that I love and pick out some of my favorites and read them. And I read them out loud and looked at it. It was like 7 minutes and 50 seconds. Oh, okay, great. The other thing is that these poems and these poets have reputations of being, quote, difficult, unquote. I don't think that these poems are any more or less difficult than a B.B. King guitar solo, and I hope I hope everyone who hears them agrees.
I think,
over to you, Beth.
Over to me. No, I'm reminded what you just said, that David St. John says, a poem convinces not by its argument, but by its music.
Right.
So I loved what you just said. I wrote this down. I think I'll sew it into a sampler. Thou shalt not agonize. I think that deserves a little sampler to put up on my wall. I love this task. I've done this now. I think this is the second time I've done the favorite poems. And like Jim, I'm staring at hundreds of books of poetry. So hard to choose, but also part of the joy of it is to have these words, kind of like when you're doing a Shakespeare play and you get to have that language in your mouth, to have these words in my mouth coming out of my mouth for these poets it's epic. It's absolutely wonderful. So I narrowed it down to the poems that I chose, but I had a whole backup set in case James or anybody else chose any of these poems. So I'm all set for next time, Harry.
Joan, well, you did a wonderful job, and we welcome you and Deedles to our program. You both blessed us, and it's just wonderful to get the residents, not only the poets outside, but the residents here to participate. That's what Jennifer Clymer said, that the main purpose of the poetry show or any of the Zoom shows is to get the residents to participate. So we welcome you and we thank you for your wonderful reading of Maya. So what would you like to say about your first reading or about the poet that you chose?
Well, this was thoroughly enjoyable. Thank you very much for having it and for having me. And I'm not one for long speeches, so that's about it.
Well, regarding that, when I was in grade school, I learned something. The teacher said, stand up, speak up, shut up, sit down. So that was a good lesson. I learned my lesson well, and I love to listen to all of you. And, you think of the poets that we heard today, Julia Alvarez, Blake, Hart Crane, the poet of the prophet Maya Angelou, Randall Jarrell. I mean, just such an array of great poets. And, talking about some of the earlier poems too, the Chinese, a classical scholar once said that the word for poetry in Chinese, classical Chinese, means words from the heart. And so you all gave you gave it from the heart and from the mind. And so thank you all. And, I want to just say, as Corinne did, to thank you, Deedle Schuur. You're just such a wonderful singer. And I know that, I know how much this reading meant to you. And you just did a glorious job, as did every person who read. And so we're real thankful to have you here at MPTF. It's just a real honor to have you here. So we all welcome you with open arms, and you know that. We all know that. So what else, Corinne? What else would you like to say? We have a couple more minutes.
Well, I was remembering the last time we did favorite poems, and the ones I missed, because I think Hart Crane was there. They're always, Wordsworth was definitely there. There are certain poets that always appear on our favorite poems day, but the ones that I missed, and I had read some of them, were the Russian, and I wish I could say their name, Svetlana, Anna Akhmatova. Yes, I love their poetry so much, I must go back to it and look at it, because they spoke. It was interesting. It would have been interesting to hear them next to Julia Alvarez, who was speaking to contemporary people. She's with us now, Julia. And once I started reading her, I always loved that poem, My Kind of Woman. And so I started reading others of hers, and I couldn't pull myself away. I thought she had a lot of really clever things to say.
Well,
everybody tell me about your favorites.
Well, that's a great book you chose from, Julia Alvarez, The Woman I Kept for Myself. I love that book, and she and some of the other, Ada Limon, Natalie Diaz, they're all fabulous poets, as well as the Russian poets you mentioned. It's time for us to go, and this was really a singular, remarkable, memorable, glorious reading. So thank each one of you for your marvelous readings.